Well, folks, another day is upon us, and already tragedy has befallen me. Well, I wouldn't say a tragedy, but something of a mishap anyway. Let's just say I'm not a happy man. My jack slipped out and the car dropped onto its radiator. So I'm down a new radiator. Anyway, I don't even think they're that cheap. I think they're about 200 quid for these bloody cars. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I had it driving lovely. I actually drove it into work for the first time today, and I was thrilled with myself. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'll go out to the garage and do the few last bits and pieces. I want to fix the horn, which, ironically, given the fact I have to take the radiator out, gives me better access to that, silver linings and all that. And I need to fix the reverse lights as well. So, yeah, but I'm going to get the stuff done on the engine first of all. I'm not going to bother filming it. You know what torquing the head bolt situation is like and changing the oil and all that carry on. So I'm just going to tear into that and then pull out the radiator. So annoying though. I think, to be fair, I was due a mishap with this car, but look, anyway, I'll put it behind me and move on. Just means I have to get a new radiator. I'll be getting on to my friend Lawrence and Just MGs and ordering one up and get that fitted anyway. But just means it gets another impromptu coolant flush again. But anyway, look, the valves were adjusted again, and they were actually very loose, to be honest. So that definitely needed to be done, and that will definitely improve the performance of the engine. So that's done. Head bolts are retorqued, or the nuts in this case. I obviously torqued the head nuts before I did the valves. It would be a bit silly to do it any other way. But that's been done, and I've drained out the oil, so I'm going to put the rocker cover back on, and I'm going to fill it up with oil. Anyway, look, I'm going to get back to the electrics soon enough. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to pop out that radiator, and that'll give me access to the Harton, because it's a bit not ideal. So yeah, we'll have a look at that and see if we can figure it out. And I also want to slither underneath and see what the story is with the reverse lights, because I'm suspecting it may be the switch on the side of the gearbox, and if it is, simply bridging that out in the same way as I did with the overdrive lockout will answer that question. If the reverse lights come on when it's bridged out, then we know that that's what the issue is. So let's see how we get on there. Oh, and by the way, the overdrive is working perfectly, so that's a win, and it's great to have it. Up until I bust the radiator out of it, the car was driving absolutely fantastically. So, but yeah, no, having the overdrive working is a big positive. Okay, so the engine's all buttoned back up and everything like that. There's fresh oil in it, all that carry on. So, oh, I just realised I didn't connect the vacuum advanced line there. Anyway, that's done there now. So, yeah, sounds a lot better actually after having reset the tappets and all that as well. So at least that's that done anyway. But yeah, I also have, if you look under here, the connections for the reverse light switch, which is, well, it's hard to kind of point out without casting a shadow, but it's up the top there anyway, and this is on the driver's side or right hand side of the car, just above the brace here anyway, whatever the hell it's called, cross member. So yeah, I have this bridged out. So what we're going to do now is we are going to turn on the ignition key and see if the reverse lights come on. If they do, that means we've got a problem with the reverse light switch. If they don't, the problem lies elsewhere. Okay, now obviously we don't have to put it in reverse now because the wiring is bridged out. But there it is, and reverse lights are on. Okay, so that's what our problem is. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop that switch out of the gearbox, and we're going to have a look and see if it's just a case of cleaning terminals or if it needs a new one, because if it needs a new one, I can order it along with a few other bits and pieces I'm going to need for this car now as well, including the epoxy radiator. Okay, so here's the offending article here, and straight away we can see two problems. Well, one potential problem and one likely problem. The likely problem is this this carry on here with the verdigris on the contacts. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of emery paper. We're just going to give them a clean, and then what we're going to do is we're going to check continuity on this and see if we see if we're getting anything when we push the button in. The other thing I'm noticing is these fibre washers here are actually used for setting the clearance of the switch. So if we're not making a good enough contact, what we may end up wanting to do is just taking one of those fibre washers out. I'm thinking, to be honest with you, that it probably is a route we'll go, but maybe let's not be too hasty. Let's maybe just fire it back in again after cleaning the connections, because they, as I said, they're fairly grim looking. Right, let's just throw a meter on that first of all and see if we're getting any continuity. Okay, so I have my meter connected up here and nothing. No. Not a damn thing out of that. Now what I'm going to try and do, actually, before we go any further and go just firing parts at it, let's just take these fibre washers off for a second, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and spray some contact cleaner down in there, because look at it, it's only going to be electrical contact in the spring. I mean, how complicated is it going to be, like? And at least that way then that might save us. It might mean we can actually get this problem fixed now rather than having to come back to it another time. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just push down the button here and just... I don't know whether this is going to have any impact in it or not, but look, it's worth a try. All sorts of muck coming out of there, in fairness. This is a low mileage car, but the thing about it is, you have to remember, folks, it's still 41 years old. So, you know, you can forgive it for a few of these issues. Corrosion plays a part whether or not it's driving. I mean, obviously it's worse if it's driving, but next thing I'm going to try and do is just open it. Incidentally, I do actually have another gearbox with another one of these switches in it, but look, if we can fix this one and leave that one alone, then so much the better. But let's see how we get on. Alright, so I just literally popped it into the vise and went around and tapped out the tapped back the kind of the crimped sections on it. So now let's pull it apart and watch it go boing all over the workshop here. And we'll have an idea soon enough as to what we're dealing with. We may be able to fix it. If not, we'll at least know what's going wrong with it. Simple as dirty contacts. Right, let's get them cleaned up, put it back together again. She should be good to go. Alright, yeah, a bit of emery will do us. Alright, so I'll bring you guys in a bit closer. I'd forgive you for asking the question now as to why I would waste my time doing this kind of stuff. Well, the answer is simple, right? Whatever replacement part I get isn't going to be a Lucas part. It's probably going to be some spurious knockoff made in China, right? This is an actual genuine Lucas part, okay? Now, say what you want about Lucas, but the fact of the matter is, it's OEM. And, you know, I mean, when you're dealing with OEM parts versus the spurious knockoffs, sometimes I think you're better off actually just getting the extra bit of life out of the OEM bits. Not always, but sometimes. And keeps the car original as well, to be honest. Not that I'm too concerned about that kind of stuff, to tell you the truth, but, you know, I mean, for this car it is actually nice to do. So that goes there, and then there's a little fibre washer thing that goes here. Alright, now let's do a continuity check on it and see how we're looking. It's looking a little bit worse for wear from being in the vice, but sure, look, it's fine. Anyway, let's get the meter on it. Okay, the moment of truth. Happy days. Bit more life left in that anyway, so that's brilliant. I'm going to just crimp out the rest of the... Oh, things are touching. I'm going to crimp the rest of the corners here and just make sure it's 100%. As I said, it looks a bit battered, but it'll work. Okay, moment of truth, folks. Let's see if it's working. Woohoo! Yes, we have reverse lights. And they turn off as well. Better again. You obviously have to check and make sure they're not stuck on the whole time too, you know. That's great. That's a nice fix. And it didn't cost me a penny. So, that's a win. Slowly but surely we're ticking things off the list, which is fantastic. And all that's left now, as far as the electrics are concerned, is the heated rear window switch, because actually the heated rear window, believe it or not, it does work. Three of the stripes don't work, but most of it does, which is great. The horn sounds a bit on the pathetic side of things. It's late in the evening, folks. It's a Monday night. Give me a break. And what else was there? I know there was something else. It'll come to me. Oh yeah, the interior light. So yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on with that. So I have to try and track that down and see if we can figure it out. So yeah, look, I'm going to pick that up on another day because I need to go in. Yeah, I'm annoyed about that bloody radiator, but anyway, look, at least it can be fixed. There was no structural damage done to the car. I do need to have a look at the anti-roll bar and make sure it didn't take a hit as well. But other than that, yeah, everything else is fine. So, right, I'll pick up where we left off here. I think the technical term is made shite of. So, yeah. Unfortunately, that definitely needs replacing. But not to worry, because the purple MG came with a radiator, and this radiator is actually wrong for the purple car, because this is actually for a car with an electric fan, and the purple car has an engine driven fan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a clean and pressure wash it, and I'm going to fit it to the car, and yeah, it'll do the job. Annoying and all as it is, at least I got out of this one lightly, to tell you the truth, so I can consider myself lucky in that regard. But anyway, in the meantime, you can see now that with the radiator out of the way, it gives me better access to the Hartons. And there's one in there, and one over the other side. So let's continue with the electrics and get them sorted out. And we will also have a look at the interior light then as well. So and then at that point in time, I'm happy enough. Okay, so what is wrong with the horns, you ask? Well, I don't think they're supposed to sound like that for some reason, do you? Let's get my auto test probe out and we'll put some power to them and we'll actually see if they're working properly. Okay, so I'm going to use the auto test probe to put power to the horn itself here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there's obviously a problem with that one. Let's try the one on the other side. There's nothing happening with that one at all, which is kind of peculiar. So the fact that there's power, like I'm sending power directly to it, suggests that it's actually the horns themselves that are at fault. That one's doing nothing. I wonder, could it be the earth? Mind you, they look like they've been a bit battered. I think I need to take them out. So, yeah. Like, I did, when I was driving it last time, have the necessity to blast somebody out of it there, and they pulled out in front of me. And I couldn't. All I could do was squeak at them, and that wasn't exactly ideal. So, yeah, let's get these out. Looks like there's 7/16 nuts on the back of them, so I'm actually going to take off the nuts, and we shall see. So let's take off our spade connections, and we'll go from there. Alright, so here's the two horns. It's a two-tone horn setup, so they basically, one has a slightly higher, is like a tone higher than the other one. So anyway, right, so I'm just looking at them here and they're looking pretty crusty, to tell you the truth. So what I'm thinking is we're going to try and fix them, and if not, then I'm going to just have to replace them. So let's take the screws out and we'll have a look. Basically what they are is an electromagnetic diaphragm, a metal diaphragm, and what happens is when you press the button, it energizes a solenoid which pulls back the diaphragm, and then when it pulls back it lets go and then pops back again, and it goes back and forth like that, and makes a noise. So yeah, that's basically how they work. So not exactly the most complicated pieces of gear in the world, but nonetheless these don't work, so we need to see if we can fix them. Okay, so just by way of a sort of a bench test, let's just see what they do. So that's the one that's making the noise, and then the other one I don't think is working at all. The beeping is the auto test probe, and that is doing nothing. Okay, so right, we have a problem. So let's I'm going to start by taking these screws out. I've never fixed one of these before, but no time like the present to figure it out. So let's start by the one. Start with the one that's not working at all and find out what's going on with it. They look like they've had a rough life, these things, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm like, plastic is all broken up and everything on them. So if I take them apart and find that they're nothing but a ball of rust inside, I think I'll probably just... Okay, well there we are. Here's the electromagnetic part of it in here. There's the diaphragm. So let's see now. Take that off. We don't actually need that for the moment. Let's just put that aside. Okay, now let's have a look and see. So I'm just looking here at the way this is. It's I'm thinking again with the electrical contacts, if we clean them up, well, yeah, see, I'm trying to figure out what way these actually work now, to tell you the truth. I don't want to go adjusting the screw on the back because that will adjust the tone of it, okay? So we're not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to start by cleaning this and cleaning these and see if we have any more success, okay? A little bit of emery again. I suppose these aren't even electrical contacts. I'd imagine what these are is literally just the actual this is where the magnet's pulling on. I mean, it can't be an electrical contact in fairness. It's just, yeah, so let's see. I'm going to actually just hold it together and just put a bit of pressure on it and see. It'll probably fall out of my hand as soon as it beeps, but let's see what happens now. Okay, so it's not supposed to be held at the edge. It's supposed to be held in the, or held in the center. It's supposed to be held around the edge. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so maybe it was just not clamped together fully or something like that, or it had all come loose. Okay, so I think what we need to do now is we actually need to clean up this surface here, and screw it all back together again, and then we'll see if it works. So we may end up having to put a little bit of sealant. Actually, we will have to put some sealant on it. It looks like it was actually bonded together first. But yeah, we'll do that, and little smear of sealant, put it back together, see how we go. Okay, you'll see here I literally have the smallest smear of sealant on that, okay? So I'm going to pop that back on there now. And we're going to screw it back together, and then we're going to test it and see how we go. I think we're actually good to go here now. Just give that a little clean as well and just make sure that it's alright. Because to be honest with you, well, I might even just put a bit of sealant around that too. This is plastic, but where is it? Actually, it looks like there's a metal inside in it. I was thinking the rust was actually bonded to it from the other side. But okay, let's give that a little bit of a clean, and we'll put some sealant on that too, as I said. Well, folks, the car has a voice. Job's a good one. Right, okay. That means at least now the horns are in and working. When it comes to it, I can put the radiator back in. I'm not actually going to go and do that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that interior light, because that's the last thing on the electrical list. And it means I can get this bloody video up, actually, to be honest with you, because I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last video went up. So it's not that I haven't been busy. It's quite the opposite is true. I have been busy. So anyway, right, look, that's yeah. You know, what little time I get, you know, is spent in the garage. But you know what? I'm a married father of two and have a full-time job, okay? So I think you'll have to forgive me a little bit, you know. I mean, there are priorities in my life to come before making YouTube videos. So anyway, right, that's enough about that. So yeah, next thing is let's have a look at that interior light, because it is kind of annoying me, actually. Just, it's such a simple thing, but it's there, so it should work. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to establish whether or not we've got power going to the light fitting itself. The reason being is because all the switching for the light is actually done on the ground side. You either switch it locally and that grounds it out through one of the screws that actually holds it in place, or you switch it through the doors, and when you open the door, the little switch down at the door grounds it out. Okay, so with my meter on DC, let's have a look and see. Oh, there goes the bulb. It's not the right bulb for it actually. That's a reverse light bulb. I haven't got an interior light bulb. Well, I do. I might rob one from the Beetle, but for the moment, I don't have one. But anyway, look, we're not getting any power to that whatsoever. So, yeah, that's number one on our list of issues to sort out. So, yeah, I wonder what way the wires are routed and where that actually comes through, because what you can do is if the problem is close by, you can actually just pull on the wire and see if it actually, like, not very hard, but pull on it a little bit and see if the wire just comes through to you. Let's see now. I need a flashlight. Oh, there go my keys. Okay, so what I'm doing here now, I'm just looking up in above here to see which direction the wiring is going, and it's going off down this direction. You can see it there, and there's wires coming down here, and then they just seem to disappear. Are they in there? Yes, they are. Okay, so they come down into this space down here, and okay. They come down into the right hand side of the car. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to probe that point down there and see if there's any juice on that. Here it is here. Okay, so it's come down this way, down through there, down to there, and that's our interior light positive supply. So yeah, and I'd say the other one is probably heated rear window, but not 100% sure on that. But anyway, right, let's see if we're getting any juice there. Okay, so we're getting a full 12.5 volts on that there, so that means that there is a problem between this point and the light up there, so we need to find out where that problem is. So that means just taking a couple of little bits of trim away and having a look and seeing where the break is in the wire. Well, I found our culprit anyway, so yeah. Now, it wasn't actually broken like that as such, but you could see the green on the insulation of the copper oxidizing inside it. So obviously the insulation got damaged and just corrosion took place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little solder sleeve there and repair it. Okay, there we go. So solder sleeve is in place. Obviously I had to pull the wire through a little bit more, but there was plenty of slack on it. So yeah, that's fine. And most importantly, let's just stick our meter on here. We're getting power at the fitting. Okay, so that's a win. So next thing to do is to make sure that our earthing points are working. Now, there is a bit of a question I do have. There is a switch to turn the interior light on when you open the boot. But the thing about it is that that wire stops there. It doesn't go down to the switches at the door. So I'm wondering, is it literally just the panel light on the center console that turns on when you open the front doors? Yeah, I must have a look at that and see actually. If it is, they may well just need to be cleaned one way or another. But yeah, I'm going to just have a look at the wiring diagram and try and figure that one out. Okay, so we can see here that the trunk or hatch lamp and switch are separate to the courtesy lamp and door switches. So obviously, yeah, that light should just turn on when you open the boot. Well, fair enough. If that's the case, that's the case. So yeah, it does mean that I also have to investigate then as to why the lights are not, or the dashboard light is not coming on when you open the front doors. But look, it's what we're here for, you know. As I said, I'm actually enjoying this process, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's keep going. Happy days! It's working, and that's on the boot switch. The little switch down there works as well. So yeah, brilliant. Now, obviously, as I said, I have to change the bulb because this would light a football stadium. So yeah, we'll put the correct bulb in at a later stage. British Leyland make it easy to clean the contacts in these switches. Literally all you have to do is just twist them. And it's working. Now, I think it should be brighter than that. Marginally. But, yeah, I'll do the one on the other side, and at least then we have that working as well. So happy days. That's brilliant. All right. I'll take the thing out and clean the contacts properly then. So, God almighty, you're a demanding bunch. All right. So, yeah, we'll just disconnect that and give it a belt of the wire wheel. And it really couldn't be simpler. It literally just shorts out the connection. See that collar at the back? That shorts out in the metal frame of it when the button's all the way in. So literally just give that a little bit of a clean, put it back in, and do the same on the other side, and that's it done. Keep your eye on the dashboard light. Hey, she's working. And that's with the passenger door. The driver's door is working as well. So, and it needs to be said, by the way, listen to this. That just sounds beautiful. So yeah, happy days. I think I'm going to call it at that, folks. To be honest with you, I'm really, really happy with how much I've achieved. There is one final job to do. I need to get a switch for the heated rear window. But for all of the work I put in, it cost me actually nothing, to be honest with you, to put all of these issues right. It was literally just a case of putting in the time and effort. And, you know, I know people criticise British Leyland Electrics and Lucas Electrics and all that, and yeah, they are a bit of a faff, to be honest with you. There's a few things that are just crap, the switches, for example. But to be honest with you, people seem to live with a lot of things not working when they can actually be made to work quite easily. So yeah, by putting this bit of time into your classic British sports car or Mini or Triumph or whatever, you know, you can make it a much nicer car to live with. So anyway, listen, thanks a lot for joining me, and there's plenty more to do with this car, not the least of which is putting that bloody radiator in. Probably won't film that, to be honest with you, because I'm already annoyed enough as it is. But yeah, look, we'll get that sorted out. And yeah, but there are other things to be done as well, and then I'll get out and use it. Probably in the springtime though at this stage. It's kind of late October now at this stage, so I could, you know, there's going to be salty roads. I'm not bringing this out in the salty roads. But we'll get on to the Beetle then as well shortly too, and get a bit done on that. So please do hit the subscribe button before you go. Hit the bell notification icon as well, and that will tell you when any of my future videos have come out. And yeah, I'll see you along the way, folks. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon.